friends, the US dollar has lost 85% of its value since the 70s when a dollar decoupled from gold, and the government seems bent on continuing the tradition. From now until after the next elections, the government can print as much money as they want. The last time they did that, inflation went up 9%. This means one thing: the security of your future and your family's future is all in your hands. Make sure you freeze the value of the wealth you're holding. Invest in gold with Noble Gold Investments. Gold is the one asset that has proven to withstand recession, inflation, and just about all economic threats. Noble Gold Investments is here to help you if you want to invest in gold. You also get a 24-karat quarter-ounce gold standard coin for free. Go to noblegoldinvestments.com now. noblegoldinvestments.com, or simply call 1-877-646-5347. The only gold company I trust. Beyond. Well, hey, Inspire Tribe, my fellow freedom lovers. It's John Nolan here. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you for being with us here on the Inspired live stream. A beautiful tradition, actually a tradition I'm going to talk about today. But first, before we do that, let me welcome you all in a live chat. I see Billy White, Gerald Brown, some of the original Tribesters. Beautiful. Johnny, Alexandra, Gunti, Marcelo. Thank you all for being here. From Roos, it's beautiful to see. We're healthy, we're wealthy, we're whole, we're free. Listen, this is more important today than it's ever been, especially with the topic that we're going to be discussing. And I want to invite you to open your heart space. Go in here. Have your mind ready. Put to the test what I'm saying. I'm not saying let it blindly in, but listen with your heart, listen with your spirit. We're going to go deep, and we're going to go in places that give us not just hope, but more importantly, empowerment. What is it that we can contribute? And how come that a time like this provides some of the greatest opportunities? This is literally what we're going to talk about. The storm is here. We won't sugarcoat this. Over the last days, we had some amazing conversations with people from various walks of life that all see the same things, but all see the light at the end of the tunnel. But not just that, they see the light within people. So there's a saying that hard times produce strong men, and strong men produce good times, and good times produce weak men, and weak men produce hard times. This has been around for a very long time. I believe we need to break that pattern here and now. That is the old paradigm. We're stepping into a new paradigm. And I want to share with you what I have observed and what Christine and I have done over many, many years, now even decades. What you do in a time of crisis. And we were, thankfully enough, put in a line of fire and put in difficult situations and very challenging situations over and over and over again. And we learned something. There's fundamentally two ways to approach a crisis. The first way is to stick your head in the sand, or basically remove yourself almost from the equation, slow everything down, hide out, wait it out, sit it out, and hope for the best. We never really subscribed to that option. Sometimes fear or worry got the better of us, and for a little while we might have done that. But for the vast majority of times, and this is something that I was probably brought up with, and something that we learned from some of the most beautiful, influential, and successful people in many fields, a time of crisis such as this is the perfect opportunity for tremendous growth on all levels. Yes, even financial, even on all levels. This is a time. And the reason why is when something like what we're seeing in the world today, such an intensification of crises everywhere, and some of them are not even reported on in the mainstream because they don't fit the narrative, but we're having military confrontations on the Asian continent, on the African continent, on the European continent. So in all the major zones, we're seeing some huge fires. I'm talking symbolically in a military sense, but we're of course seeing huge fires everywhere. In the United States, Canada, we're seeing floods, we're seeing storms. This is quite literal, the storm is here. So such a time as this is almost or maybe in some ways even bigger than the beginning of 2020, when it became clear that everybody would have to make a choice. But the main choice is, am I succumbing to the fear, to the propaganda, to the indoctrination, to the worry, to the MSM, to the government's pushing this into our heads and hearts? Or am I taking full responsibility for me now? And then the perfect time is here to do the things that I've been putting off. The perfect time is here to finally acknowledge, accept my purpose, and start doing it. In the beginning, in 2019, before this major crisis started, in early 2019, late March, early April, I told you this story. I came out of a meditation prayer, and I had the clear, very, very clear guidance. Start a YouTube channel, call it Inspired. I will be completely honest with you. I could have never imagined where it would all lead. Clearly, I knew it was guided. Clearly, I knew there was meaning to it, but I didn't know where it would all lead. I just kept showing up. And then Christine, as soon as I let her in on the secret about a week later or so, or 5 days later, that I'm working on this, she jumped on board fully. We've been doing this ever since, because the Creator, God, put this in front of us. And then a year later, when the major crisis began, the worldwide crisis in 2020, she had a clear guidance that came through her that was, let's do daily live streams. This is the time where you don't stick your head in the sand. This is the time where you full on expand. Expansion also means growth. It also means going beyond your comfort zones. It also means adventure. It also means opportunity. It also means joy. It also means healing, all of those things. And so we started the daily live streams first with a very small group of people that kept showing up, but they kept showing up fully. And then we started inviting people to courses that wanted to go deeper. And then we had the clear guidance, okay, we're going to do these retreats, the YATO retreats. But it was all guidance, because people felt in this time of crisis, it's almost like I don't have any other chance anymore, but I either walk through this storm and I empower myself with all the tools, and I grow. And I even profit in the most beautiful sense of the word by living my truest intention, living my truest purpose that God gave me. It has been a godsend for many people this time. And this is, of course, controversial to say it, but crisis is always the greatest opportunity. That's what we also learned from our mentors. We walked into quite some rooms at one time by someone who had built billion-dollar companies, and there was a huge crisis going on in one of his organizations. And you would expect a sense of worry and fear and panic. No, we walked into that room, and you know what we saw? Creativity. We saw ideas. We saw visions. We saw a sense of adventure, because it meant we now have to expand. Actually, the people who do really well, they invest. And by invest, I don't always mean just money. They invest on all levels, in themselves, in their organizations, in their growth, in optimization, in purity, in health. They invest greatly because they know we either grow through this or we die through this. I am not on the dying path. We're on the growth path. And so every day we can choose to look at the world and see it as the inflamed and very, very sick show it gives us at this time, and the real pain and suffering. I don't want to minimize that. I see it and I acknowledge it, and I feel it. I can empathize very much, but I cannot let myself go there in a way that will diminish and extinguish my own fire. That simply isn't, it's not feasible. It's not what we came here for. This is the time where we flame the fire, the inner fire, not the wildfires, the inner fire, friends. And when we began being very clear on that, the people that kept showing up to the various opportunities, like the retreats that we host twice a year, they were clearer and clearer on, no matter what the circumstances currently are, No matter what the storm looks like, I will walk through it. Whatever pain, suffering, and trauma was in me or in my family, it stops with me, and it's something new begins with me. This is not just a time to survive. This is a time for transformation, transmutation. The ability is here. Everything is in an almost in an alchemy way. It is not quite decided yet what this time is going to turn into. Who can decide on this? We. Why do I not say God? Because unlike many people out there, I believe that God really truly gave us free will. He equipped us from the beginning with everything we could ever need, inner and outer, everything we could need. It's all already here. It's been given. We've been given the free will to choose growth or destruction, good or evil, right or wrong, to apply ourselves accordingly. So I am in deep gratitude to God, the Creator, who's already given everything. And I acknowledge your responsibility that I use my free will to use all the tools and what we've been given for the greatest good of all, including myself. That's the difference. I do not believe that God will even remotely interfere directly with what we do, because he would break his creative promise to us. He would break the promise of free will if he did so. If God the Creator interfered now directly, we would be cut off from the very premise of our existence, which is free will. So I believe we need to awaken the divine spark within, reawaken or intensify that we have been given. And all the laws that were already created by God can either be used in favor or in destruction. Ultimately, our intentions and our actions will determine whether the laws, the perfect laws, will be beneficial or destructive. So we are that. We're that. We're the strongest and most and the highest consciousness on earth. That's why we determine the direction. God has already given everything. So that's a given. And this is why I believe, like I think I shared the story, maybe not here, maybe on Locals in our Coffee and Truths. There's this old story of a guy in despair, down on his luck. And he runs into the woods and he cries out to God and he says, God, I have nothing. I'm drowning and dead. I don't have a home anymore. I just want to win the lottery. Just let me win the lottery. And the clouds open up and God's voice comes through and God says, son, I shall grant your wish. You will win the lottery. And the man walks back into his little town and walks past the shops and imagines the life that he's going to live with his lottery winnings. And just keeps on dreaming about it. And a year passes, nothing happens. The man's still down on his luck, and he goes back to the original place and he cries and he yells in anger at God and says, God, you betrayed me. I still didn't win the lottery. And the clouds open up again and God says, son, it would help if you would at least buy a ticket. And this is, I believe, in a very plastic, in a very simple way. The message here is we need to do everything we can with what we have. We truly need to. But the beautiful thing is that if the need turns into a want, and if the want turns into something that brings you joy, then the journey becomes really beautiful. This is what we're seeing over and over and over again when people first and foremost reconnect spiritually. And this is also the message that all our friends in the various places, the beautiful, influential, high vibing people, they all say the same thing. My real life's purpose only began showing up in my life and being visible and having an impact when I reconnected with God fully, beyond scripture, beyond the church, beyond the priest, which I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. I'm not saying anything is wrong with scripture or going to church, not even remotely. What I'm saying is cut out the middleman in your communication and connect directly with God. Be brave and connect to the Father, right? It shouldn't be, there shouldn't be a barrier there. We should direct connectly. Very good. Connect directly. Another word, wordsmith in here. So that said, how do we do that, right? Because The one thing is theory. The other thing is, how do we put this into practice? It means to re-examine our life, to re-examine our values. And oftentimes, values are being watered down through 90% decisions. What are 90% decisions? Where you are 90% sure this is the right thing to do, but 10% unsure. 10% is more than enough to say no to something. 1% is more than enough. The re-examination of values and decisions needs to move the needle to 100%. We need to start making 100% decisions. I'm 100% certain that this is the right path. Unless I'm 100% certain, I'm not taking that step. Sometimes taking a little more time and meditating and praying and feeling clearly and getting clear guidance is more valuable than a shotgun decision. Sometimes a shotgun decision is just fine, but 100% decisions are really important. Do I settle for less than I was designed to be? Do I settle for less than I was promised to live? Because God's promise to all of his children is that they live in a natural state of abundance and joy. Am I saying this is happening overnight, or we will all be hunky-dory in a matter of a few weeks? No. This is a journey now. We need to heal. We need to reprioritize and get our values straight. But the promise is there. The promise is here. And there is more than enough evidence that this promise had been in full fruition before. We've been cut off. Now we need to reconnect with that again. And for that, we need to reevaluate our decisions on a daily basis. How do we start our days? How do we live our relationships? How do we view ourselves? Are we hateful towards ourselves? Do we knock ourselves down all the time? Do we acknowledge a divine spark within us? Do we give ourselves permission? Listen to this word. Do we give ourselves permission to heal? Do we give ourselves permission to feel what needs to be felt? Do we give ourselves permission to be authentic? What does that mean? Being who we truly are. Brave and bold in the face of fakeness, being who you truly are, expressing yourself to the fullest of your being. Do we give ourselves permission to be happy and joyous? Is it wrong to be happy and joyous when there are others suffering? Can we suffer our way into more well-being? Can we actually suffer our way into a better situation? I don't believe so. So do we give ourselves permission to be abundant on all levels, in health, in relationships, in love, in money, in everything that could possibly be needed? Do we give ourselves permission to experience a sense of joy and well-being that is beyond anything we've ever seen, even though the storm is here? Because trust me, there's only one way through this, out of this, and that's unconditional love. There's nothing else that could possibly heal what we're in. But do we give ourselves permission for that? Do we give ourselves permission to be everything we can be? And can we actually strive and work on and accept so much goodness into our lives when the storm is here and when so much in the world seems to be in chaos? This is not for everyone. Some people will want to walk the suffering path, and I don't want to persuade you of anything. I'm talking to those who can feel the truth here, those who feel this is right. I deserve and I accept the full goodness into my life because I know if I can live that, I'm a shining light. I become an example. I become a contagion, a positive contagion, because we are truly creating something extraordinary here if we choose to. This is why we follow the guidance. This is why we go, and meet with a fairly small group of people twice a year and go into a very intense conference, if you will. We have an intense gathering and we go deep and we do not accept the boundaries of anything that has come before. The boundaries of our comfort zones, we don't accept them any longer. We transcend them, not violently, but with love and transmutation, with the transformative power that we have. We go into the deep space within us that is so readily available if you choose to see it and feel it. I will give you this. The physical space around you is nothing compared to the vastness inside of you. Nothing. Inside of you, when you close your eyes and when you shut off your senses and when you focus on the within space, you will notice it's much bigger than your physical body. It expands out into everything. And that is where the field of all possibilities, in the field of creation, where you begin to enter that field. This is what we do there. We connect with the deepest part, because all of this is actually natural to human beings. We've just been deprogrammed and programmed into something else. A child, and whenever we get the pleasure and have the pleasure to see and meet children that have been allowed to stay purer than most of the children today, you can see that deep connection, that they still have it. It's still there. You can see God in their eyes so clearly. And that is the natural state of all of us if we choose to recognize that again. That's why this is the greatest opportunity, because crisis puts it forces you to make a decision. That's why most people only change during crisis in their personal lives, or during an outer crisis that affects everybody. That's where people begin to change. I would love for that trend to shift over to, well, let's change when it's not as harsh and chaotic as it is now, but here we are. So let's take this opportunity and let's create these new ways of thinking and feeling and healing. Healing is such an important topic. Healing on a spiritual, on a soul level, and that it's that then facilitates the physical healing. When the spirit is balanced and whole, when the soul is balanced and whole, when the psyche is balanced and whole, the body follows. The body runs on programs. Bless you, my love. The body runs on programs. The programs that we create, and a healthy mind, a healthy spirit creates a healthy program for the body by default, right? So if you try to force your body into health before you heal the spirit and the psyche, then your body can't really go there, or it will continue to fall out of balance, and it's a struggle. But when you start at the source of the suffering, which is always the spirit, and you heal that, well, the body needs to follow. It wants to follow. It will follow balance. It will follow harmony. It is the most beautiful opportunity if we choose to see it. And I want to invite you to examine your day. Examine how you wake up. Examine how you sleep. Really pay attention. If you don't sleep well, that's a good sign that something ought to change. How do you start your day? Is it by turning on your phone, going through the social media channels? Is it by thinking about all the bad stuff that's out there? Or do you start your day with a sacred conference with God? Do you start your day in prayer and meditation? Do you resist the urge to follow an outer program and follow your inner guidance? Do you resist the urge to follow comfort and put in a little effort to make that connection every morning? Have that discipline. Scripting, where you write down your innermost beautiful pictures, maybe desires, dreams, visions, right? In present tense, in the acknowledgement of your co-creative power. Do you move your body, and do you go out on walks, and despite it might be because of your physical condition quite difficult, but do you do what you can with what you have right now? Also, do you give yourself permission to make those 100% choices that are in sync with your values and in sync with your true convictions? Because every time you make 100% decision, a part of your spirit rejoices and is reawakened. And the more the more you resist the urge for short-term satisfaction and look at the bigger picture, the more you will make those 100% decision, true north, and love and calmness and peace will return to your life. It will be good with your soul. And when it's good with your soul, it's good with God. That's where you want to be. That's the peace from which everything else can be created. And so what we're doing through all the things that we're doing and that we're inspired to create is an offering. It's to offer an extended invitation, but we always want to make clear we are not the source of any healing. Even when people join us for the YATO retreat, for example, we're not the source of that healing. We're not some gurus on a pedestal that decide whether it does or doesn't happen for someone. No, 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 no. We facilitate something. We create the space for something. We might guide a group of people through something, but the source is ultimately the creator, and of course your choices, your showing up. It's always the source. And the reason why I'm saying this is because no one should ever convince you that you need a program to accomplish something, that you need to buy something to accomplish something. That is not true. For some people, guidance is helpful. For some people, going within and connecting with God and doing it all on their own is helpful. I can't determine that for you. I can just tell you there is always a path if you choose to see one, and there's always the right path available to you if you open yourself up to it. And for that, even in the world of finance, in the world of the economy, which is a part of our lives in this lifetime, right? If you look at past crises, no matter how big, there were always people who thrived. Some people by horrific means, don't get me wrong, but not everybody. Some people simply decided to see the positive, simply decided to see the upside, and decided to provide service or value, provide something that is useful to others, helpful to others. And I believe if we do that with a pure intention and with pureness in our hearts, we live up to our purpose. We live up to why we're here. And that is why we keep showing up every day. It's that clear inner drive. It comes from a much higher place than has anything to do with likes and clicks and numbers. Not at all. We have seen way too often, to not believe it, how people that have had very, very traumatic upbringings, very, very traumatic experiences, when they made a choice that was not going to be their destiny, that the past was not going to define the future, that the trauma was not going to shape their lives any longer, when they made that decision, boy, the potential they unleashed by just making that decision allowed them to heal and then thrive. We've seen it over and over and over again. This potential is available to you, to me, to everybody. This is part of God's promise. The healing is available to everybody, and so is the thriving. Please, no matter what happens, what will continue to happen in the world around us, if we can keep our spirits high, and if we can raise our consciousness continually, we might produce what other people would call miracles. But I am convinced these are not miracles. These are just our innate capabilities. And we can do that in our own lives and even for others if they choose to become part of that journey. I believe 100% in your capabilities, because your capabilities and my capabilities come from the same source. They come from the same source. And that's why I have a strong knowing that the best is yet to come, the best in your life, my life, and all of our lives. And we're going to walk through this crisis and through these crises, and we're going to show a new and a different path. And we're going to show it for everybody, not just to see, but to walk with us, those who choose to. Healing, thriving, health, love, unity, peace, joy, harmony, abundance. It's all part of it. It's all part of this journey. I wholeheartedly know that. I don't believe that. I know that. And I can say that we have found this deepest part in the darkest hour. Truly. In the darkest hour, I had some of my most beautiful experiences because I chose to not define my life by a snapshot of a circumstance, but by the eternity that guides me and that ultimately is me. Changes everything. We're spiritual beings having a quite short human experience. We're spiritual beings having a human experience. I want to invite you to feel that deep in your spirit. Soak that in, breathe it in, remind yourself. All suffering here is also temporary. The spirit is eternal, and the spirit needs to reconnect with God, the Creator. So this is an invitation. This is an invitation if you feel inspired to join our group this fall in October 5th through 8th. We're hosting the next YATO retreat. and we have a few slots left there, but it's an invitation. And I want to emphasize that this does not speak to everyone. You have to have that clear yes inside of you. You have to get that 100% yes, because we do not accept 80 or 90%. We're very picky like that. The group that shows up, they show up with 100%. They show up not exactly knowing what's going to happen. They just know they're 100% in. That's the kind of spirit that allows us to transcend limitations through 4 days that seemed impossible before. And that allows people to have experiences deep within that they've never had before. It's the 100% yes. Because if it isn't 100% yes, then that's okay. It's just not the right time, the right moment. We're not the right people. That's totally fine. This is why we call it an invitation. But for those who feel that yes, feel free, learn more. We put the link in the description. If this is a yes for you, we can't wait to meet you. We have wonderful, wonderful relationships that are built there, and they're built on a spiritual level. They're not built on the superficial human level. They're not built on just an exchange. They're built on a deep connection. And the truth is, so many souls there are just reconnecting, and they're just seeing and meeting each other again. That's what happens at YATO over and over again. So Christina and I are super excited. Again, it's happening from October 5th through October 8th. And the beautiful thing is that a place in this world found us that is so perfect for this, that we've been offered many places that I'm sure are beautiful. We've been offered many opportunities to host retreats anywhere else. We just haven't felt the inner nudge yet to go anywhere else, because it's a perfect place. It has presented so much opportunity. It's right next to the beautiful Gulf of Mexico, to the beach. There's no high rises. There's no huge tourism. There's none of that. There's just an energy of potential and openness. And oftentimes it's a little windy around those days. We call this the wind of change, because it supports the transformation that's happening there. So one more time, you're invited. We would love to see you there. We can't wait to meet all those who've already signed up. And if that's not what speaks to you right now, guess what? I'll see you tomorrow right here, or on Locals, or we'll meet out in the streets. Happens a lot lately, where people see us somewhere and they walk up and we have a beautiful conversation. We are connected. We truly are a tribe. And we're showing that the old limitations do not apply anymore. We're transcending those boundaries together. My friends, thank you. Thank you for tuning in. I can't wait. I'm going to scroll through the live chat now, read your beautiful comments. Thank you for your energy, your participation. Thank you for being with us. It means so much to Christine and I. We love you. We appreciate you. We'll be back with you again very, very soon.